Welcome back, guys, to Steven's DIY Auto Review.
All right, guys, and we are back. And we're in this 2015 Dodge Durango Unlimited V6, 3.6 liter V6, all-wheel drive. And guys, we got another check engine light. We got 199,546 miles on the clock. And guys, we have another check engine light. This time it's for something different. We fixed our last trouble code. We actually had another trouble code that popped up, and it was due to basically the thermostat was getting stuck. As well as, so we had the thermostat got stuck, closed, and we had an engine overheat. Luckily, there was no damage. We've had a lot of trouble with the thermostat. I highly recommend you just pull the trigger on a OEM thermostat, because the ones you get from your local auto parts store is just trash. It does not work on this car. So we were finally able to get an OEM one, popped it in, and we have had no trouble since then. However, we got a new check engine light. We're going to come down here and read the code, show you guys real quick. And it's a P0520 code, engine oil pressure sensor circuits, sensor switch circuit. That's the code that we've getting now. So, unfortunately, your oil pressure sensor lives under your lower intake manifold, so you got to take your upper and your lower intake manifold off in order to get to it. And this is my fault. A while back, I can't remember when, I think it was probably earlier this year, I actually did some preventative maintenance and I changed the spark plugs. I apologize, I didn't bring you guys along for that. My brother-in-law and I were doing it. I was showing him, kind of teaching him how to do it. So anyway, long story short, since we were already under there, because you have to take the intake manifold off in order to reach your spark plugs, I told myself to switch out that sensor. But did I do it? No. So guess what? Now we're going to have to change out that sensor. So we're going to go ahead and take you guys along for the ride on how to replace your oil pressure sensor. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay guys, so we're going to be under the hood, and before we get started, we have our gear wrench table here, and we're going to be using most of our snap-on stuff here. You guys already seen this in a video. However, this is new. We haven't done a video on it yet. However, this is new. We have our 24-piece metric shallow and deep socket set in 3/8 drive from 8 to 19 millimeter. There's the part number 224SFFSM. Open it up, and here you go. We've already been using the shallow 3/8 sockets, and here we have the deep. This was all brand new. However, we already opened it and been using it. So we're going to be using these today. We might do a video on this a little bit later, but that's what we're going to be using along with our gear wrench mechanic table. Can't think of the proper name off the top of my head, but you guys get the gist. So we're gonna start off. We're gonna unplug our sensor here. We're gonna unfasten our intake hose right here. Pull this off so we can get some more room to our intake manifold. So let's take our intake ducting off. Okay guys, so now that we got our air intake off, we have a lot more room here. All we did was disconnected our hose end here off of our throttle body and just moved it out the way. So now we're gonna go ahead and start taking off our intake manifold. So hopefully you guys can see here, there's a bracket. There's two brackets, one right there, one right here, and then one back here that are 10 millimeter nuts that you're gonna have to remove. Alright guys, so hopefully you can see we got those both off. And at least on this first bracket here, if you go down below, you see a fastener down there. We loosened that so we have some play, as you can see there. The back one is a little bit more difficult. And it's gonna be too hard to show you guys. The back one's a little bit more difficult. So we did get the top nut off. The bottom nut we have not loosened. We're gonna try to wiggle it out from there, but we'll see. We might have to revisit that. So we're gonna go ahead now, start taking off upper intake manifold fasteners. They're gonna be a 10 millimeter. And you're gonna have several of them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5, 6. There's one in the back, 7. So there's about 7, and I want to say there's like one in the back. So we're gonna go ahead and pop these loose, and we'll bring you guys right back. All right, guys. So for the ones that are deep inside the intake manifold, I highly suggest you use a 1/4 inch socket with an extension. And I do apologize, I lied. The fasteners are going to be 8 millimeter. I think I said 10, but they're 8 millimeter. So for the one here, here, and back here, you want to use 1/4 inch socket with an extension in order to fit it down inside there, as you guys can see. So we're going to finish taking these out and we'll bring you right back. All right guys, so once you got all those, you're going to come over here by your throttle body, and you got a 10 millimeter on this bracket here. So we're gonna go ahead and remove that. Okay guys, so that back bracket back there, you are going to have to loosen it in order to get it past the stud. Once we get the intake off, we'll show you a little bit better what we're talking about. But that nut back there is gonna be a 13 millimeter. You're gonna need to use a wrench. And I'll try to show you guys what I'm talking about. So we'll bring you guys right back. Alright guys, so there was one last fastener right behind this one. You can't see it because of these hoses, but it's right back behind the hoses, and it's going to be a 10 millimeter. So now I think we got everything loose. And we're gonna go ahead and pull this intake manifold off, the upper intake manifold, and try to give you a better look underneath. Alright guys, so I forgot to mention, before you start pulling it out, you wanna disconnect all your connectors here from your throttle body and any kind of hoses or anything that's connected. So just FYI. So now that we got our wiring harness off and it's pretty much free, we're just gonna go ahead and lift it out. Okay guys, so we have our upper intake manifold off, and now here's our lower intake manifold. As you can see, when we did the spark plugs, we switched out the gaskets here. So now we're gonna go ahead and get this out. But before we do, so I want to show you. Let's see if I can get it. So back here on this end is the 10 millimeter fastener that we had to get, that we missed. So you're gonna have two brackets right there, as you can see, hopefully. It's not wanting to focus. And it's still not focusing. So there's two brackets there with the 10 millimeter. So let me bring you on this side. And here is the rear bracket. So that's the one that you're gonna go ahead and right below it. Let's see if you can see it. There's a bracket down there with a nut on it, but it's in between a piece of metal piece. So you're gonna need to use a wrench and not a socket wrench. Hopefully, see if we can get you focused there. And it's not gonna focus. Let's see. Literally right there. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see it. Anyway, once you just follow that bracket down. Once you follow it down, you'll be able to see it. It's hard to show you with all the lines and refrigerant lines. It's hard to show you with all the lines in the way, but you get the idea. See if I can get it from here actually. There, a little bit better right there. So that piece, it's not gonna focus, guys. It's that piece right there. There's a nut on the inside that you're gonna have to get off, 13 millimeter. So anyway, guys, let's go ahead and tackle the lower intake manifold. All right, guys, so you're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're gonna have 8 millimeter fasteners, and then you pretty much, after that, it's just a matter of disconnecting your spark plug coils and your injectors, and then getting this out. So we're gonna finish doing that, and then we'll bring you right back. Alright guys, so now we have access to our oil pressure sensor. Alright guys, so after a lot of complaining, cussing, swearing, cutting our hands up, we're finally getting our sensor loosened. So we're going to go ahead and finish loosening this up, remove it, compare it to our new one, and install our new one, and we should be good to go. So here is our two sensors. On the left is our new one, on the right is our old one. They're perfectly the same. And the part number, we got the Duralast. It's going to be part number PS0520. So we're going to go ahead, pop the new sensor in, and we'll bring you guys right back. So we're got our new one tightened back in. We'll torque it to spec, and then we'll bring you guys right back. Okay guys, so we got our sensor back in on the bottom and plugged in. Now we're gonna put back in our top sensor. It's gonna be a 19 millimeter, so we're gonna go ahead and get that back in, torque to spec, put the connector back on, and start putting everything back together. So we'll bring you guys right back. Alright guys, so before we put this back together, since when we first did the spark plug, we purchased the gasket set and we never removed the lower intake manifold. So since we have it off, we're going to go ahead and replace them. As you can see, they look like they're pretty rough shape. So good thing we have these. We're going to go ahead and replace them so we don't have to do this again. So we're going to put these in and get this put down. We'll bring you guys right back. All right guys, so we got our nice new ones in. So we're gonna go ahead, put this down, anchor it, start putting everything back together, and see how she runs. All right guys, so we got our lower intake on, torque down to spec. All right guys, so since we have our lower intake manifold on, we're gonna go ahead and put on our upper intake manifold, torque it down to spec, and then we'll be good to go. All right guys, so we got everything put back together. Everything's torqued down to spec. We checked our wiring harnesses and our hoses. They're all connected and we're good to go. So now let's start it up and see what happens. All right guys, so our oil pressure is going down. So one thing, I'll show it at the beginning, but our oil pressure was stuck at 100 psi. It wouldn't move, it wouldn't change. You could drive it, you could step on the gas, and it just would not change. So we're gonna go ahead and clear the code. So we got our little pocket scan, launch scan tool here. We're gonna go to diagnose. Let it do its thing. Okay. We're just gonna erase codes. We probably set codes earlier. Okay. Okay. Now let's turn it on. All right, guys, so we definitely the oil pressure sensor is at least working now. We're getting some response. So I'll probably show it at the front of the video, or I'll probably even add it here as well. I'll show you the initial like diagnosis that we did. We plugged the scan tool up to it, but we really didn't even need to. Once we put the oil pressure gauge on the instrument cluster, it was pegged out at 100 psi, and it just would not do anything else. You could press the gas, you could drive it, you could floor it, it just would not increase or decrease oil pressure like you see here as I depress the gas pedal. It wasn't doing any of that. So we're going to go ahead and let it idle for a while we clean up, and then we are going to take it for a test drive and see what happens. So we'll bring you guys right back. All right, guys, so we took it on a test drive, a couple miles around the block, and it was good to go. Actually, recording this part of it anyway, it's been a couple days. It's been about a week actually since we fixed the problem. We took it on a long trip. It's about a 140-mile round trip, and we're good to go. No more check engine light, no more DTCs, and the oil pressure is actually responsive and good to go. So there you have it, guys. Kind of rudimentary here. I wished I could have went to more detail, but we literally had to fix this before we went on our trip, which was we got it fixed like literally the day before, 2 days before our trip. So anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to go down there and hit that like button. Also, a lot of my views are coming from non-subscribers, so if you haven't already yet, please go down there and hit that subscribe button. We got a lot of good content for you guys. So anyway, guys, that is how you change your oil pressure sensor on your 2015 Dodge Durango. It's a little time consuming and a little annoying, but you'll get it done. So anyway, guys, if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button. If you guys would like to be notified when I put out another video, make sure to hit that bell notification. And as always, guys, please subscribe to my channel for more informational videos and DIY projects. And as always, guys, until next time, have a good one.